Yeah, I don't get it.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you all for coming today. Welcome to the 70th Annual Mendel Lecture. The Mendel Lecture is the longest-running annual lecture series in the history of St. Peter's University, which is now 150 years old this year, right? The only event that has gone on longer is graduation. The Biology Department, the Department of Applied Science, and the Mendel Biology Society are delighted to introduce our guest, Dr. Marie Trone. But before I read from the program, I just want to add that Dr. Pat Redden and I first met Dr. Trone in the wilderness of the Peruvian Amazon. That was when Dr. Redden was leading a St. Peter's travel course to the Amazon rainforest. We had about 6 St. Peter's students with us, and I went back to the Amazon in 2018 with more students and Bill Armbruster, who is here today. And we met Dr. Trone again. I'll just say that she is a very adventurous person, and we admire her a lot. The title of Dr. Trone's presentation is Why Be Normal? The Twisted Mutant Pink Dolphins of the Amazon. And here's some background on our honored speaker. Dr. Marie Trone has been fascinated with dolphins since she was 7 years old. She grew up in southern Ohio and has had an eclectic career path. She worked in Mexico for 3 years, served in the United States Marine Corps, and was even homeless for 1.5 years as she drove a semi-truck all over the United States with her pet skunk, Highway. She earned a living working as a dolphin trainer for 13 years and as an elephant trainer for 2 years. Marie earned a BA in biology from St. Mary's College of Maryland, a master's in biology from Andrews University, and a PhD in experimental psychology from the University of Southern Mississippi. She has 21 peer-reviewed publications, and her work has been presented at international conferences. She also began working as a full-time professor of biology for Valencia College in Florida in 2011. Marie is very interested in dolphin communication, cognition, and behavior. She collaborates with colleagues in the US, Peru, France, and Germany on research that investigates high-frequency clicks produced by Amazon river dolphins, as well as other dolphin species. Marie has traveled to the Peruvian Amazon to collect river dolphin acoustical data every summer from 2014 to 2019. In 2016, she established a bioacoustics laboratory in the Peruvian rainforest. Marie and her colleagues hope to develop a method that will allow individual identification of dolphins based on unique acoustic features, essentially voice recognition, to improve the accuracy of collecting population data. The hope is that this research will help inspire people to protect the enigmatic dolphin species that inhabit the Amazon River, and by extension, conserve the rainforest watershed, as well as life itself on planet Earth. So thank you, Marie, for coming today. We are very honored and excited to add you to our list of distinguished Mendel lecturers.
Hi, how are you? Good. Do I need a microphone? You guys can hear me in the back?
Yeah.
I can talk loud. All right, so thank you for welcoming me. That was, I hope we can live up to all this. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this river dolphin right here. It is the most undolphin dolphin, if that makes any sense at all. So, there it is right there. It is called, well, its species name is Guinea geofrensis, but it's also known as in here speaks any Spanish? What does feo mean?
Ugly.
Ugly. They're ugly. And they make the sound when they come up and take a breath, they go poof, and so they're bufeos in Spanish-speaking countries. There's another dolphin that lives in the river with them. It's St. Patrick. This is the gray river dolphin. It's a lot smaller, very hyper. The pink river dolphin likes to hang out in shallow areas of that river, whereas that gray river dolphin, that tends to favor the major, deeper channels of water right there out in the river. But we will see them together. Sometimes they chase each other, but not too often. Because the pink river dolphin lives all throughout, they can go in that shallow water, they have a wide distribution, versus that of the gray river dolphin, they're more restrained because they gotta have that deeper water. So on the upper picture is a backside of a pink river dolphin, on the bottom is a bottlenose dolphin. What's different?
Color.
Yeah, they got a fin, and they kind of don't. What else is different?
Color.
Color, absolutely. So, the pink river dolphins, they're slow. They don't swim very fast. And so, the bottlenose dolphin can swim about 3 times as fast. That fin on the back helps stabilize that, the bottlenose dolphin so they don't fall over and keeps them going straight. So, and there's a reason for that. And I'll get to that in a minute. It's kind of hard to see with the light, but are dolphins always happy? Does that smile that they have mean they're always happy?
No.
Are you always happy?
Probably not.
No, but it's hard to see. If it was darker, you would be able to see. That smile helps to channel water to go around the eye, so that water, like water with the debris in the water, the sand in the water, it doesn't abrade the eye. So that's the function of the eye, or the smile, on a dolphin. And you can clearly see the whites of her eye if it was darker. Anyway, because the bottlenose dolphin has that fin, they're born and that fin is nice and straight. But as they age, they lose little pieces of skin. So bottlenose dolphins around the world are individually known by the shape of their fin. So if you take a photograph, the distance between the different notches, no matter how big that fin is in the photo, the proportion is the same and they can all be individually identified. Can you do that with the pink river dolphin? No, because they don't even have a fin. Okay, so this dolphin is gray on the back, white on the belly. Why? Camouflage, right. So the predator you would think is a shark, which is what happened to this guy. His name is Jax. He's down in the Florida Keys right now. He was rescued from Jacksonville. And that is a shark bite. That is a shark bite. He lost part of his fin there, part of his fin there. But normally, if you look down on him, the dark back matches the dark bottom of the ocean. If you look up at the belly, it matches the bright sky. Not only to protect them from sharks, but also to allow them to find their food, because they still have to sneak up on their prey. But this is the Amazon water right there. Can you see through it? No. And that's a hand in the water, you can't see that. And here is some video we took with a drone. And let's see if it'll play. There we go. And there, you don't even see them until they're right up at the surface of the water. And there are lots of them swimming around the boat right there, and you just can't see them. And when you're on the boat, you can't even really see the fin, so we miss most of them. And so trying to individually identify them or assess their populations based on the dorsal fin, one, it's not going to work because they don't have a dorsal fin, and two, the water is so murky you can't really see them. Eventually you'll see a couple up here. If the water is that murky, does it matter if you have that counter shading? No. So they're mutants. They don't produce the pigment in their skin. So I call this natural selection, of course. You're best adapted to the environment, and then you're going to produce more babies and so forth. But evolution, yes, is driven by that, but also by the release. And I like to point out these cave fish. Normally, they have eyes, but once they move into a cave, if you're hatched without eyes, does it matter if you can see or not? There's no light, so does it matter if you have an eye? No. And so, there you go. It's happened 5 different times with the same species in Mexico where they've moved into caves, and and then they mutate, they don't make eyes, but it doesn't matter because they survive just as well as their friends that do have the eyes. Okay, so there's two types of water. This one, it's kind of hard again to see because of the lighting here, but this is a more darker colored water, and this one's kind of a more clearer water, but they call this one white water, which makes no sense to me. Like, I don't know, it should be like black water, but they call the clear water black water. And they call it black water because it's like tea, and so you can kind of see through it. And so here's what happens. If the river dolphin is born endemic to an area where the water is more clear in black water, they maintain a gray coloration all the way through adulthood. This dolphin is like 11 years old in that particular picture. But if they come from areas where the water is murky, they turn pink. Actually, they are like white, but when they get warm, then they turn pink. So here's like a mom and a calf, and they are at an area right here where we call it the meeting of the rivers, where the black water and the white water come together. So sometimes you can see both ecotypes, one that's like pink and one that's gray, in the same areas. When the babies are first born, though, they are dark gray. This dolphin was literally just born just a few minutes before that picture was taken. So that is a fresh newborn. And notice what color the adult is. What color is the adult? Kind of hard to see with the lighting, but is he gray? Yeah, he's pink. Okay, so they're gray, and then as they get older, they lose that pigmentation, and then they turn white. So it's kind of like a beluga whale. Baby belugas are born dark, and then as they get older, they turn white. Now this is a gray river dolphin. Normally that belly is white, but in this picture the belly is red. Is he active? Yeah, he's jumping around. This is a bottlenose dolphin. What color is his belly? Pink. Is he active? Sure. So when you guys do exercise or you're walking up the stairs, does your face ever flush red? Yeah, so those blood vessels are expanded and then lots of blood comes to the surface, and that's what causes the Amazon river dolphin to be pink. But if you go back to the literature, why this always happens, somebody wrote they're pink because of the shrimp they eat, but and then somebody wrote it and then everybody believes it, but that's not true. This is an Amazon river dolphin, but is he pink? No, he's white. Is he moving around a lot? No, he's in a zoo actually. So this is a Chinese river dolphin, this is an Amazon river dolphin. What's different? The snouts are a little bit different. What else?
The eyes.
The eyes are a little bit different. How about the size of the fins? Yeah, they're much bigger than his. There we go. So the Chinese river dolphin and the Amazon river dolphin are two different ancestors that independently evolved to get that long snout and that lack of a dorsal fin. So that's a type of convergent evolution right there. But the big fin for the Amazon river dolphin serves to help keep them cool. It's like a radiator in a car. So this is a major blood vessel right here, and the dolphins have a countercurrent heat exchange. So as the warm blood comes from the body, it picks up some of that heat as it returns. Because as they live in the water, they have to conserve heat, and so they're built to design avoiding hypothermia. But when you live at the equator, the water's always warm. And so what they'll do is they'll dip their fins in the water, and then they'll put them up in the air, and then the water evaporates off their flippers. I'm assuming that's how they're cooling off, because you'll see them doing that. They'll just be like, dipping their fin in, and then it comes out, and then it's always pink. So he's got nice little short flippers, but he lives in an area where it's cold, right here in this river in China. And we've all heard about that place now, right? Yes. A couple of years ago, I'd never heard of that place. Okay, whatever. And that's much further north. That's not on the equator. So there you go. This is a bottlenose dolphin, Amazon river dolphin. What's different? Look at that head. What do you think? Kind of lumpy, right? And here's a close-up look. He's got hair. He needs to shave. Right? They're mammals. Bottlenose dolphins have hairs too, but they lose them by about age 2 months, and then they just have that skin left. The Amazon dolphin keeps that hair throughout his life. So he's a little feo right there, right? And look at these guys. What's wrong with them?
No mice?
They're not deformed. That's normal. This is why I call them twisted. Technical term, asymmetrical. They're definitely not symmetrical. If you look at the skull, one side's bigger than the other. So should there be a purpose for that? You would think, right? So when they use echolocation to see and navigate, which they have to do in that water because it's totally murky, sound is produced behind the fatty part of the melon, goes out, it really reflects well off of air, but off of anything, and then comes back through the lower jaw where it gets interpreted. So the jaw is like the dolphin's ears. And so an owl has offset ears. And this is just my hypothesis. I have not demonstrated this unequivocally, but this is a hypothesis, that the ears are offset so that they can find their prey better. And definitely, if you're listening through that jaw, the sounds are going to get to each ear independently at a different rate of time. So again, another one of these hypotheses. There we go. Yeah. Look at that. How many of you can touch your toe to your mouth? They can do yoga. No, they're super flexible. Their vertebrae are not fused. Most dolphins have their backbones and their vertebrae in their neck fused, which is why they can swim so fast. Like I can throw a stick, woo, really far. But if I had a shoestring, it's just going to go right over there. Why would that be important for a dolphin that lives in a river? Just think about it. Look, they can swim and make little S's with their bodies. They're super flexible, so they've given up speed for being able to bend and to have agility. This is a bottlenose dolphin. It's not photoshopped, it's cropped. There's a little tree. So they can swim fast, they can jump high, and then the pink dolphins can't. How many do you see in that picture? One. He's just flipped around. Of course, that's a trick question. Most people are going to say, oh, there's two. But I throw that in there just to make it, get you to think. In the Amazon, every year, there are variations anywhere between like 11 and like 15 meters of water. Not feet, but meters. And that's a huge difference between high water season and low water season. So one of my colleagues was in the Amazon in March recording dolphins, and from Google Earth, all of this area was flooded. I went in August of the same year, and that's Google Earth from when I went, and that was low water season. So when the water's high, where do the fish go? Do they stay in the main channel? If you were a fish, anybody fish? Anybody is a fisherman? Do you ever go fishing on structure? Rocks, whatever? Yeah, the fish take off and they go in the structure. And so would it be good if you were a dolphin to be able to swim between the trees? And that's why they're flexible. So this is like a hide picture, right? Here's a hide picture. And I'll show you what you're looking at. Right there is a backbone from a river dolphin. There's another backbone, and there's a river. We found a skeleton of a river dolphin right here in the forest. He didn't swim in the forest and die because he was stuck. He just happened to die there. Half their life is spent swimming among the trees. If at that same location, looking out, there's the river. So it's very helpful if you can swim between the trees so you can get your food. Here we go. Okay, so this is the Chinese river dolphin, officially reported as extinct in 2007, although an unsubstantiated report of one has been found in 2017, but nobody said for sure. And I only say that because people knew it was declining in population numbers, but we just didn't do anything to protect them. Currently, we do not know how many Amazon river dolphins exist, nor how many gray dolphins exist, but we do know in some parts of like Brazil, and the practice is spreading, some people are starting to catch these dolphins to put into these traps to catch these catfish. So they've tried other baits, it doesn't work with catfish like the dolphins. And in one area in Brazil, they killed in one season almost 1,700 dolphins, which they estimate is 3 times faster than they can produce babies to keep the population going and sustainable. Because of this, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature listed them as an endangered species just a couple of years ago. So if you go to the website, you can see they've listed it that way. The gray river dolphin is still listed as data deficient. They're not killing that one. They're harder to catch. They're faster. They jump. So we don't know how many there are of those guys. So people have tried to count them, experts that do this all the time, putting 3 observers on the front of a boat, 2 on the back. But even with that many people, as they do their transects along the different parts of the river, they missed. 24% of the dolphins were spotted by the back people that were not spotted by the front people during these population surveys. So the results from that particular study, after they did almost 2,700 kilometers, altogether they only found 2,100 individuals. But in one area of Brazil, how many were killed in one season? You know, almost the same amount that they actually documented. So the World Wildlife Fund helped sponsor a program where they put some satellite tags on 11 dolphins. There's still no results to that. I don't know. They probably, COVID threw off their whole project most likely. Just like everything else. So anyway, it's hard to see these dolphins because there's not much that sticks up out of the water. So, you know, that's a good picture, believe it or not. That's a really good picture. And it's also hard to see them because of their behavior. They don't go jumping out of the water, so it's really hard to see them. Again, that's a good picture. So our thought is we need to do something to help protect them, and one way we'd like to do this is to try to just get a count of how many dolphins are there, and in places where you can't see, you can still hear them. And so we're looking at a few things using acoustics, and we're specifically using the high frequency echolocation signals that are produced in this part of the body right here. Notice this little red part right here, that's the part that produces the clicks. And they bring air in through the blowhole, and then they can actually recycle it. And I threw this picture in because the mouth is connected to the first of their, depending on the source, they have like 3 or 4 chambered stomachs, just like a cow. That little pinhole is what's left of the external ear, but again, they hear through the lower jaw. So there's the recorder, you can see her ear above the water, but also what is above the water? Her jaw, which is the ear. So even when their eyes are closed, they can do echolocation. So this is just so you can kind of hear what it might sound like to you. This is a bottlenose dolphin, not a river dolphin. So that gives you a good idea. There we go. Okay, so some of the parameters we're looking at with our acoustics are going to be frequency, amplitude, and then the timing of these clicks. And most people, they see those terms and they just shut down, like, oh. But frequency isn't that hard to understand. How many times in a year do you have a birthday? One. And today is what, Thursday? How many times does Thursday happen? 52. About 52. So frequency is just how often something happens. Something that is, well, this is the higher frequency because there's more changes, right? These are pressure changes. In general, higher frequency is associated with a higher pitch. Lower frequency is associated with a lower pitch. There we go. Amplitude, what's a guitar amplifier do? Makes it louder, right? So amplitude is how much energy or how loud. Something with a high amplitude where it goes way above 0 there, that's a very loud signal. One that is a low amplitude is a very quiet signal. And then we look at timing in between their high frequency clicks. So it could be thousands or milliseconds, or it could be microseconds, millionths of a second. And I do this, and I don't mean to talk down to anybody, but a lot of students I've seen, they have a hard time understanding big numbers. And so I scaled them. So 16 pennies, if you stack them up and lay them over, that's an inch. I am 1,000 pennies tall. 1,000,000 pennies would go about a mile, just a little bit under. roughly, it would go from Orlando to Philadelphia on Google Maps, which means it's not a straight line, it's roundabout. But then when you go, and I'm just going to throw this in, not that we're dealing with trillion, but trillion pennies would go around the Earth almost 40 times around the equator. So, no comparison. Why I'm doing this, okay, this is time, and then this is like frequency, or how many times it changes in 1,000 cycles per second. So if something samples at taking 96,000 sound samples per second, this is the human hearing range. We can only hear up to 20 kilohertz, and probably nobody in this room can hear that now. Like young children can, but as we progress into our teens, we start losing that ability, and we're probably a little bit less. This is traditionally what people sampled when they were recording dolphins and whales. And this would be all that they could get from that particular signal. And so up until about 2010, everybody said the Amazon River dolphins didn't even click, because you listen to the sound and you hear nothing, because it is all above, all the energy is above the human hearing range. This, we took 1 million sound samples per second. Most of the energy is right here, like 200 kilohertz and down, but there's still stuff up in the upper reaches there. And just to give you an idea, I'm going to play it to you real time and then slow down. Boring, right? Here's that exact same recording, slowed down. And that sounds like a pen clicking, yes? Okay, so you can definitely hear much more when it's slowed down. Some of the other sounds that we've heard is this one right here. I'm going to play it real time. This one's louder, so. Right? And then if I slow that down, you're going to hear that same sound, but the clicks as well. When they're hunting. This is a short video clip of a dolphin that was living at the Duisburg Zoo in Germany. They said he lived by himself because he was the only one left of that group. They were exported from South America in the 1970s around the world, and he's pretty much the only one that was remaining at this point. But they fed him live trout. And I'm just going to show this, it's really quick. I almost missed it. Here it goes.
Fast? I guess I'm trying it up from here.
So they always wondered why, when they fed him the fish would go limp and then he would go eat them. Could it be they're using that sound to stun the fish? Which is what I think. I mean, there's been debate that marine mammals could stun fish for 20 years, a couple decades at least. When I recorded him when he was eating, he made that sound. He made that cannon sound. So this is probably at least one limited evidence that they do use it. Unfortunately, he was about 50 years old and he passed away in December of 2020, and I never made it back. But would it make sense that they would stun their fish with sound? Can they swim fast? No. And what if the fish is on the other side of those trees as they're swimming through the trees? Wouldn't it be nice if you could just stun your fish and then reach around and grab it? And so that's why I think they're actually using that to stun their fish. Yeah. Okay, so that's another hypothesis, and it makes sense. So here's another sound. It's really quick. Told you it was quick. Slow down, here it is again. What does that sound like? This makes me think of a humpback whale, right? I've actually taken the whale songs and spat them up to try to make whistles. I haven't succeeded, but I just thought maybe. But every once in a while, when they get emotional, you'll hear those whistles. And they also make this kind of squeal sound that's similar. And again. And that same recording, slowed down to our hearing range, makes it sound like that. So anyway, for time, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this so I can cover the stuff I want to cover. Nobody makes equipment that records aquatic sounds at 5 million sound samples per second. Each of these microphones, hydrophones, has to be able to handle that. And so this is not commercially available, but we're working on it. Sound has a fixed speed as it travels through water. And if you put more than one microphone under the water, you can measure the time delay of arrival to the different hydrophones and get an estimate of how many dolphins are in that area. And if you look at the printouts from this, which one, 1, 2, 3, or 4, did that click hit first? Came there first. Yeah, and then maybe there, and then there, and then there. And when you do that, and then with other software, we can sort out how many actual dolphins are in that actual recording. But that's time consuming. This is just kind of a setup with GoPro cameras and the array that we use on the water. That's the computer magician, the mathematician, the acoustician, physicist guy. And we've made like our own software to download behavior observations. I've used a side scan sonar. That just allows you to see, this is the water column above the dirt, like that. And the first time I used it, I got images like that. So it gives us also an idea of like where they are in the water column and so forth. But I'm going to skip this for now. I only say that because males are slightly bigger than females. On average, the males are about that much larger than the females. The only other way you can tell a boy from a girl in dolphins is if you roll them over. Males have a long line with one little line underneath it. Inside that are the male genital reproductive organs, and that is the anal area. Females have everything in one big slit, and then two smaller ones on either side where the milk comes from. The mammary glands are inside, and that keeps everything nice and flush to help them swim through the water without much drag. Without highlighting it, that's what it would look like. Here is a picture from Fernando Trujillo. This, can you tell if it's a male or female? We'll test your skills now. It is an exclamation point, so he's a male. But pink dolphins don't jump like that, so we were kind of hoping with side scan sonar we might be able to tell them apart, but not happening so much. This is just information, just not really related to pink dolphins, but the pink dolphins in general will nurse for about a year. That's actually a bottlenose dolphin nursing. Have you ever drank underwater? They don't have lips. So here's how they get around that problem. They will take their tongue and roll it up and make a little straw. There's little fringes on the side. Those will interconnect. They slide that into the mammary slit, and then the mother squirts milk into the baby's tongue. And that's how they drink underwater. It's also why dolphins don't have teeth at the very front, top or bottom of the jaws. The teeth are just along the side. Okay, so here's what we've found so far. And to me, this is totally fascinating. So this is Mount Rainier, and it's reflection. Light reflects, sound reflects. So as where one part goes up in the mountain, its reflection goes down. If it goes down, it goes up. So it's just a reflection. This is what our sounds look like when we draw it out with amplitude. Does this look like it could be a reflection of that? Kind of a trick question. This part goes up, that part goes down. This part goes down, it goes up. Is that a reflection? If I hold a ball, here's where I'm getting you at. It looks like a reflection. And I've had lots of debates with other people. They're like, those are just reflections. I'm like, it can't be reflections because over half of our clicks are like this. And in addition, once we did like the time delay of arrival, in order for that to happen, the dolphin would have to be flying in the sky. Not happening. But also, another giveaway is if I drop a ball and it bounces off the ground, will it go higher than my hand? No. This one has more energy, remember this is energy, than the initial. So could that be a reflection? Most likely not. This is the environment that they live in. Does that look cluttered? I mean, there's lots of silt, there's trees, lots of debris. So there's Timothy Layton, he works over in the UK, and he's done this experiment, he works with radar, but he made a cloud of like 35 million bubbles, put a little fish target in there, and then he tried to find the fish in the bubbles using signals like that imitate echolocation that are identical. Then he also did them where they were inverted and where the second one had more energy. When he used the twin inverted pulses, you could see the target much better than when the signals were identical. Would it make sense then that the dolphin is intentionally producing two different signals? And they got the two different bursae inside the skull in order to do that. And do you remember how the skull was asymmetrical? One side bigger than the other? Because most of our signals have this shape to them. And again, there's that skull. So I really think the dolphins are doing this in order to navigate in that cluttered environment. We also think they may be using these as contact calls. So if one makes one click, the other will do one. If one makes two, the other does two. But not only in quantity, but in frequency. So this particular click, even though it was really short in time, what we just listened to, and it sounded like a pen, this one started high and ended in, this one click was high and ended in low. If that happens, the next one will start in low and end in high. And they mimic each other that way, kind of like they're going, Marco.
Oh.
Right. Would it make sense? Especially if you're a mom. Don't you want to keep track of where your kid is? You can't see it, but you can talk to it. So I think they're doing contact calls. Previous to our research, the highest frequency reported was only up to about 200. There's a way we can adjust ours to make ours look like theirs, but we're getting stuff up to like 500 kilohertz. And some of the backlash I get is like, well, they can't hear that high. It doesn't matter whether they hear that high or not. They're still producing the sounds, and we can still use this information perhaps to individually identify them by their voices. So we're hoping we can use both the little inverted pulses and the frequency to hopefully come up with a way to identify them. While I'm kind of on this topic right here, sometimes we see the dolphins tossing things in the air. What would you think that is? What kind of behavior?
You're playing.
Playing, right? Look at that. What color are they? You know I'm tricking you. Yeah, they're that pink color. What color are the babies? You saw it. What color was the baby? Dark. We never see dark ones playing with them. Only pink ones. Who plays more, puppies or dogs? Puppies. Is it play? After they do this, after they toss these objects around, they beat each other up. Okay, and they, jumping on each other, and for a river dolphin, that's a big jump, because again, they are very squishy, if you will. And they hit each other with their tails. Here's my analogy. Here is an elk on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Nice big set of antlers, nice set of rack. Do females have that? No. Could you swim through the water with a rack like that? No. Oh, but look, we have narwhals. Look at that. That tusk is bigger than me. It's a couple meters in length. But guess what? Males have the tusk. A couple of females do, but it's primarily males. Why? Could it be the same reason as the elk? The males fight with them. They sword fight. And then they still go to woo the female. And you're like, okay, so what? Here is a phylogenetic tree showing the evolutionary relationship between whales and dolphins, some things that have gone extinct, and modern mammals. The closest relative is the hippo. But what's the next one? Oh, it's a thing with horns. Yeah, like, not horns, antlers. Yeah, it's an ungulate. Also, if you look inside their flippers, this is just kind of interesting and fun. They have all the same, the same kind of wrist bones, hand bones, radius, all humerus bones. So do manatees. They even have remnant leg bones. And when they're in embryonic development, they have a leg limb bud, but they reabsorb that in general before they're born. And if you get a complete intact skeleton, you'll see leg bones. So here is a cow. I don't know how often you get to see cows. This is actually one in Peru because they got those giant lily pads in the background. Why do you think it's standing in the water? Cool off. What about bugs? Anybody like mosquito bites? No. They get these big flies that eat them too, so if you go in the water, you don't get eaten by these things. These are cattle in Florida. They do this all the time, even in winter. And they go in the water to stay cool, keep the bugs off, but they eat food in the water. Look at that. They're eating duckweed and whatever else is growing in there. I don't know. So could it be possible that 45 million years ago, cow-like animals went into the water to cool off and then ate duckweed and then maybe ate a fish or two? Yeah. How many have heard cows have multiple chambers to their stomachs? Guess what? So do dolphins. They have multiple stomachs. Another interesting thing, this is a sketch from one of my old textbooks of a prehistoric precursor to whales. And this is the bone, their little ankle bone right there, that they have. This is the modern pronghorn, which you can go see in Wyoming, Utah, walking around, and it is the same shape. So more evidence they evolved from these ungulate mammals. And now as they're getting more skeletons, we keep getting more skeletons. This is modern time, going back over 45 million years. The nostrils were at the front, and then over time, that blowhole moved up to the top of the head. And if you were to look inside that blowhole, which I didn't have a good enough picture, it is actually divided in two septa. There's two, you can see the two different nostrils. And again, that's connected to their lungs. So, anyway, I just kind of made a little divergence there. We have definitely found more dolphins acoustically than we can using our eyes. So based on a 30-second video from a GoPro, and with people on the boat watching the dolphins, we detected 3 with the GoPro videos, only 1 standing there looking at them. But acoustically, these are the different, due to time delay of arrival, to the different hydrophones. We think there may be 7 dolphins, but possibly 18. We're not really sure. That's the signal analyst. That's his part of the project. So another conclusion is this is a lot harder than we thought it would be, right? So anyway, and really, and that I have one more little thing right here, and this has nothing to do with dolphins. Listen to this. It goes on. That's a bearded seal in Antarctica. So the people, whoops.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help.
Sorry. So, yeah, when they first heard that, they had no idea what that was. This is several years ago. They cut a hole in the ice, dropped the microphone down, and that's what they heard, and they're like, what is that? We've only explored like 5% of our oceans. I think one of the things I love about science is there's always so much more to discover and explore, and I don't know. I'm not studying seals, but I just threw that in for fun. Yeah. Cool. Do you have any questions? I don't know your name, but yeah, and you both are wearing glasses.
Where are you going? Okay. It's fascinating. Thank you. So you alluded to it. The signal you recorded, it goes to a much higher frequency, and you said in the higher frequency part, you may not be able to, they may not be able to hear it, but you may use that information to identify individual ones.
Right.
So you're not there yet, but I was thinking in the future, maybe you record more data, and you can use the sound information to identify, to give them even a name. You know, this is this guy coming.
Right. I totally agree with that. Here's something else. With human sound systems, for example, we can only hear at most 20 kilohertz. But some sounds, you know how like you listen to like some of these automated voices and it sounds like a robot and more tinny, and then some when you get higher fidelity you have more full sound. Those higher full sounds are playing back at that 96 kilohertz rate versus like a 40 kilohertz. So even though we can't detect it consciously, you've got these little piezoelectric crystals in your ears that are vibrating at those higher frequencies. We can't say, yes, we hear it, but there is a physiological change in the brain that is vibrating that makes that sound more full. It very well could be, I have no idea, that something may similarly be happening with them. Maybe they're picking up more of a quality versus who knows what.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What's the typical lifespan of dolphins? And also, are they facing extinction in the Amazon, as apparently happened in China?
Possibly. So, yeah, I didn't upload those slides. There's a place in Brazil where they feed the dolphins. The scientists feed them. So we call it provisioned. So they're coming in, getting food. Once a year, they collect those dolphins. They're individually identified by freeze branding, and they've kept records on their ages. So these dolphins that are getting food, right, they're living to be about 30 years of age. How much they live on their own without provisioning, we have no idea. The one in the zoo lived to be about 50. We don't know exactly how old he was, but we know he was at the zoo for like 42, 43 years. So that's about how long their lifespan is. They only give birth to one baby. A mother can't produce enough milk to support two. So twins don't happen, or if they do happen, they don't die. But just based on so they've got a lot of things going on. So the mortality rate of the dolphins being used as bait is a major issue. In a perfect world, in my dream world, what I would love to do is to go down and work with there's like a group of communities with Honapak, which is a non-profit organization, and help them document the fish that they're catching, the people in the community, and then correlate that with dolphin sightings. And right now, the people in that part of the Amazon aren't killing the dolphins because they believe that the dolphins shapeshift into humans, good-looking young men, and come up and impregnate the girls, take the girls from the community. You laugh, but I mean people with master's degrees, because that's what they were brought up. They just truly believe it. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to change that, because as long as they kind of fear these animals, they're not gonna kill them. It's just the people that are more industrialized, more modern, coming in like, oh, we need to kill the dolphins so we can catch more catfish, so we can sell the catfish to like Colombia. And there's no alternative baits. They've tried, the catfish don't want to eat chicken. But in a perfect world, I would like, the only way they're going to be saved is if the local people want to protect them. And always, this is always the common thing, if it's in your backyard, it's no big deal, right? It's what you just take for granted. But if they can see in areas where there's fewer dolphins, that there's less of the fish that they want to eat, and I've seen some, like as I'm reading, I'm seeing there might be some evidence for that, but if we can demonstrate that where they can make that connection, then the people there will be more likely to protect the dolphins. And ultimately, that's what's going to keep them in the future. That's what I think. It's got to be the people there wanting to help them, not us. Because, yeah.
Dr. Widener mentioned that at the age of 7, you were intrigued by dolphins. What was it about them that lured you to it?
I have no idea. That is such a good question. What intrigued me about dolphins? I had watched National Geographic on a black and white TV with Diana Fossey and the gorillas, right? And I was in Pennsylvania at that time. We were living in Pennsylvania. And I looked at my mom and I said, I'm going to do that one day, but I'm going to count dolphins. I don't know. So it just happened. I don't know. I have no idea because I didn't have dolphins around me. And then I used to like imagine little experiments and. Sir.
Do they know the genome of the dolphin? The DNA of the dolphin?
Right.
Do they know that? And have they compared that to the ungulates that you think that they're evolutionarily related to?
Yes, but what I would, so you got me on another topic, and I don't know which chromosome, but there's a certain gene that is correlated with communication abilities, like in people and like primates that makes.
FOXP2 gene.
What's that?
FOXP2 gene.
That's it. That's it. Thank you.
Do they have it? They conserve it?
I would love to find out.
They probably do have it. It might be mutated. It might have different mutations in it, because our FOXP2 gene is identical to the Neanderthal FOXP2 gene. That's why we think they can speak. But it is different from a chimpanzee by one amino acid. That one amino acid they think is responsive.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I would love to know. I have. So before they became endangered, I brought back bone samples. But like, now I already have them, but now they're endangered. I'm like, well, but like if I could find some way to get, I'm not a geneticist, but I would love to know. I have the raw material.
We do.
So
It wouldn't be that hard to find out.
are you interested?
I don't do that anymore. I know people.
If anybody's interested, I've got the DNA, I got the sample. You can grind it up.
So,
I got a rib I can donate.
people can learn this.
Hi. We frequently hear about the intelligence of dolphins, and I'm wondering, can you offer any personal comment from your experience about the intelligence of dolphins?
Yeah, I actually, so intelligence of dolphins, I can tell you, like, because when I worked with dolphins, I can tell you, like, a story, like, when I was working at a dolphin research center in the Florida Keys, there was a dolphin named AJ that one of the current trainers at the time was teaching him this signal, which meant repeat your last behavior. So do something, whatever it is he does, repeat it, then he does it again. There was a trainer who hadn't been there for 10 years. She had quit. It had been 10 years. She came back. They gave her a cooler of fish and said, go have fun with AJ. You loved him. And she went out and did that signal, and he did a barrel roll because for her, that meant something totally different. And so that shows like memory, individual recognition, even though the person had aged 10 years. Things like that, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could give you stories like that, but it's really hard to like demonstrate intelligence. So my first dissertation attempt was at this, and I was trying to do what's called metacognition, like, are they aware of their own thoughts? And I had trained 2 dolphins a task called match to sample, where you show them something, you take it away, put a delay between 1 second and 2 minutes, then show them 2 other things, one of them that matches the sample, and counterbalance and all that. At 2 minutes, they start really forgetting, and they don't do as well. But I mixed in another signal, so I show them a sample, take it away, time delay, then they get a choice. Take the test or not take the test. If they took the test and got it right, I gave them 5 capelin, 5 fish. If they chose to take the test and they got it wrong, they got nothing. If they chose don't take the test, they got 2 fish. And they were doing really well. And then my bosses got fired. And I was in Mexico, and they took my dolphins away, and I had to start a different project. I cried. Yeah, it took me 3 attempts to get a dissertation completed. Because I did something similar, and then dolphins got moved, same thing, so, yeah.
Kudos on your persistence.
It took 10 years. It took 10 years. And then they were going to kick me out of school, and I'm like, please don't kick me out, I need to finish. So.
Do dolphins travel in packs?
Some do. Some travel individually. Some travel in groups. It just kind of, it depends. I see them, even in Florida, I see them individually. I see them in groups. They'll cooperate and like hunt fish together. The males will cooperate to sequester females to mate with them, even though the female probably doesn't want to. The pink dolphins, when the females, I was telling, how some used to call you by your first name, Professor Widener, before, when the females don't want to, the river dolphins, they just swim in shallow water and sit there, and the males can't get them. You know, because they can just sit there and they can breathe. Some of the large baleen whales, if the females don't want to mate, they'll roll upside down so their genitals are up in the air facing the sky. But the males will cooperate, 1, 2, 3, and when she rolls over to get a breath of air, they take turns impregnating her. But not with the pink dolphins. They're like, forget it, I'm just going to swim over here. And they'll put their tails up in the air like, you can't get me. And so, yeah, they do that. I don't even know why I got on that subject. What was the original question?
Do they travel in
Oh,
packs?
do they travel in packs? So sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends. And what you might think is individually, I've also been in the water, like in Florida, for example. I can't see a dolphin anywhere, but I can hear them. I can hear the clicks. So I know they're around somewhere, and sometimes I never see them, but I know they're there. But they will cooperate. They teach. They actively teach their babies how to hunt, and they'll pass the different ways that they hunt down generations. So there's a legend, a story that there's this place near the Amazon River and Napo River confluence, a town where the people cooperatively get fish with nets with the dolphins, and then afterwards, after the dolphins chase the fish in the net, they feed them. I have not seen that yet. I don't know if it's just a story or if it's true, but it has definitely been documented with bottlenose dolphins, like in Australia, Brazil, and different places in the world. And it's generation to generation, it gets passed on. Dolphins will also use tools, like put a sponge on their face as they forage on the bottom to protect them from stingray barbs, because dolphins sometimes will get a stingray barb in them and it'll kill them. So they have to be careful. So they're known to use tools, but there's a lot of social complexity too. So sometimes individually, sometimes not. I can tell you the pink river dolphins also have nurseries. So, and I've documented this, there'd be like 1 or 2 adults and lots of little babies. And they do this in areas where there's not a very strong current. So the water is like, you turn the boat off and you don't drift. And then there'll be babies. And then, you know, I mean, it makes sense because the baby's not strong enough to swim against that river, and that river current is strong. And that gives the mother a chance to go eat, and then come back, scoop up her kid, and then I don't know where they go. But a lot of times you'll see them on the shadow side of an island, so if the river's coming this way, they'll be on the back side. And sometimes you'll actually see them, the pink dolphins, protect that area, because I've seen them chase the gray dolphins away from a nursery before. But I've only seen that once. And I don't think we tried to record it, we were recording, and it didn't. Something was wrong with the computer. Always a glitch.
Yeah, one last question. You said that dolphins only have one baby. Is that one baby at a time?
Right.
Yeah.
One baby at a time, then a few years later, another baby. And they will have babies their whole life. They don't have menopause.
Really?
Yeah, they have babies their whole life. At least the river dolphin and others. But I will say pilot whales and orca, they do have reproduction senescence where the females will stop having babies and still live another 10 to 20 years. And there they think it's the grandma effect where they're teaching the younger generations where to go to get food. So.
Kathy, you were saying that you could hear the sound underwater. Given the amount of silt in the Amazon, how far can those signals actually travel?
I don't know. I don't know how far those sounds can travel. That's a really good question. High frequency does not travel as far as lower frequency sounds. Lower can go much further. For those of you that don't know, like the big baleen whales, like the blue whale, produces a sound below our hearing range, but they can sing across an entire ocean basin. So like off the coast of Massachusetts to off the coast of England, takes about 36 minutes for that sound to get across. But that's a low frequency sound.
And clear water, or clear earth.
Clearer water, yeah, because the bubbles, air is the best sound buffer. So I would love to see this happen more. If we know that there's dolphins or something in an area and we're dredging or something, it would be so easy to just take a hose, put some holes in it, and just make a bubble curtain to help prevent sound damage or sound disorder. So when it's bubbly like that, so when you get into the radar, they talk about the reflections of those inverted pulses coming back as if you add the differences together versus if you subtract the differences, and then the math gets a little beyond my abilities to understand it, but that's how they're able to, they do this with radar, and that's how they're able to see things in cluttery environments. And I would love to team up with that guy. I messaged him and give him my data, and here, do something, have fun. Because I would love to see. I'd love to see. Cool. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Oh, one.
In addition to the catfish issue that you mentioned, are there any other threats? I was wondering what the quality of the water is, any
Yeah.
contamination of water down there?
So other major issues facing them, I had a chart in there. Let me pull it back up. Let me find that real quick. These are my slides. Okay, so some of the things are going to be they're doing a lot of oil exploration to get oil out of the area, and then there's oil spills and it just contaminates everything downriver. Illegal gold mining, where mercury gets in the water. You can go online and see satellite images and things that I think National Geographic did some studies with that. And there was they interviewed this guy, he had taught environmental science. He lost his job, but he had a family, and he went to go do some of this illegal gold mining. And when they interviewed him, he's holding the mercury in his hand. He goes, I know I'm going to be dead in 2 years, but what else am I going to do? And of course, that gets in the water and destroys things. Dams, when they put dams across the river, that prevents the fish from going across and the dolphins from going across to get to their mates, to get to their food. when they do the illegal logging, because some logging is allowed and some isn't, but there's just no reinforcement out in the middle of, there's just nothing. And so that adds more silt, more nutrients in the water, then the nutrients can cause that whole, like, algae blooms. And so boat traffic, plastics, sometimes they get killed intentionally, just like killed, they get, the dolphin, oh, I've seen them do this, they get stuck in fisherman nets. So they put gill nets out across the river in certain areas to catch fish, but if the dolphin swims into the net, they can't get out, and then they drown. And you can't see the net, and if you're not, I've been scuba diving, and I wasn't even paying attention, and I've swam into a gill net, because I just didn't see it, and I wasn't expecting it. Sometimes they raid the nets and pull the fish out, and that's when like the local people go like, well, you're taking my fish, and then they like shoot them or kill them. Another problem is good luck charms. There are people that believe if you, this sounds so awful, but this is not me, this is them. All right, so they believe that if they carry, like a woman carries a pink dolphin vagina with her in her purse, she will attract men to her, and men, the same thing, if they carry the male reproductive organs with them, they'll get more girlfriends. You can go to the markets and ask to see these things. I did this so I could get photos for presentations, but you can go to the market, like in Iquitos, and you can buy that stuff. It's not legal, but it's, again, they just don't have the resources to back it up. Yeah. Yeah, I covered all those. I'm like, did I miss any? No, that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.